I always start every anything I'm trying to accomplish or um, constructively guide others in. I'm always starting with the connection that you have with yourselves and your ability to source that information intuitively and the practice of those experiences, because whether it's the dead world, whether it's the living world, whether it's whatever else you're looking into, it's from this intuition that's going to make sense of that. Like so often people say to me, oh, my uncle, I felt his presence in the room and I knew he was there. And I'm like, like, like your intuition is what you needed to be grounded in, because that is really gonna, you are grounded in it, it's just your conscious awareness isn't all the time, or as often as would benefit you or greater. So really understanding our inward processes and those intuitive processes that we have and everything are kind of what I always put in place in my workshops. They're always day one. It's like you can't even come to day two with the spirit world and health and healing and all of those external energies and how to work within them unless you've done day one, because it's in here that's going to make the sense of all of that out there, So yeah, get connected to you, because you do know at some level, you're intelligent by design. Everything in nature is. It's a leaf, a bird, a tree, and like the brilliance of nature in that, like everything is intelligent by design. And so at some level, therefore, we must also be, and we are. And when you start grounding yourself inwardly more and connecting to that, you'll see the brilliance about the ways in which your life has unfolded, and understand the meanings of why you've been through what you've been through and how different things have served you and where you're at this point, and really on a remarkable journey of eventuating and you ultimately knowing who you are, So all of that is all on the inside, and you're already packaged with it. Never haven't been. You're intelligent by design. It's not a place to get to, I see a beautifulness in all the spiritual practices, don't get me wrong, like I've never even picked up that meditation's bad for anyone. I've always picked up that it's really good for people emotionally on that level, and helps turn them inward, and it's good for stress, all those things, My kind of resistance I have with all of those practices is when we believe that we have to do those things to become aware, or that we're not, or there's something that we've got to get to or do, or, it's like as soon as you start being freer to be you and start liking you and start meaning that relationship you got with yourself, the world, and others, and your life's going to make a lot more sense, And I think that's where a lot of the confusion and frustration and stress and everything's come from, is because a lot of the time our world's not making sense to us, why we're going through what we're going through, why people are being how they're being, all of that stuff. And so ultimately the self needs to be realised, and it's through engaging with yourself and looking inward a lot more that can be achieved, The world doesn't need saving. People don't even need saving, It's like it probably just needs to be left alone, because it's all just reflective of the current condition humanity's in, and where we're at with our inner conflict with ourselves and the spiritual battle on the inside, Our world is just an expression of the chaos within. So, and I think that's why there's such a powerlessness felt in the world of what to do about things out there, because the only way you're going to change anything outside of you is to be the change, is to change what's inside of you, And when you've got a healthy, loving relationship and you're enjoying who you are and the experience of you, and you aren't in so much judgment, giving yourself a bit of a break, and start resolving the conflicts that you have with yourself and your life and your experiences. Start looking into them inwardly with your awareness. That in turn is the only thing that's going to impact change in this world, you know. So we all need to get a bit busier with getting ourselves sorted, you know. And then ultimately the world has to change. Things have to change. You know, our experiences have to change, because all of those things are a reflection of where you're at, you know, in your current human condition. And a bit of a crisis out there, you know, waging with war, health declining, suicide skyrocketing. It's like, you know, but I do readings and that, and I look into people and I tap in and everything, and I see the self-loathing and judgment, and I'm like, no wonder our world's where it's at, you know. Like, we've got to come back to that recognition of the brilliance of the selves that we are. You know, we're all inherently good. None of us feel comfortable in conflict or want to be in a bad mood or want to be stressed or any of that stuff, you know. It's not aligned with our natural state and how it's meant to be, you know. And I think a good place to start is with that compassion for yourself, you know. Like, it has been really hard and everything, you know, but you're not flawed in any way like you might think you are. You haven't even really got stuff to work on as such, you know. Like, all of that stuff's just reflective of where you're at in your own worth, primarily. You know, your own value for yourself. And I see this layer with people, you know, when they come to readings. It's just like I'm connecting with a layer of you that I'm just like, oh my gosh, if you just knew why you were going through this and how you created it and just the brilliance of it all. It's astonishing, you know. We're missing out on a lot that can be there and viewed here now today, you know. But we externalise everything so much, you know, instead of working on the relationship with ourselves. And for the most part, it's just like a whole lot of nice words to live by that are thrown around, and not much is really put into context. And so I want to put things in context because I can, because of, you know, got my own life path with dotted out examples all over it that will be relatable for all of yous, you know. Yeah.